welcome back to my Views and News, Sunday's first video. In this video, we'll try to analyze a question. We'll try to find answer to an important question. Question is Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, going to split? Are we going to see an alternative political force, political entity in Tigray to replace TPLF? Because it is being predicted by political commentators that TPLF has suffered massive political damage by signing agreement of capitulation in South Africa, Pretoria. TPLF agreed to disarming of Tigray fighters. That is why there's going to be a revolt within the party, outside party as well. So in Tigray, we could see an alternative political force and there could be splits within TPLF. Let's try to find answer to this question. Is TPLF going to split? Is it going to disintegrate? Firstly, let's set the record straight. Since the start of conflict in northern Ethiopia involving Tigray region, Ethiopian federal forces, regional forces, Eritrean military, in November 2020, TPLF has not been alone. Whatever happened in terms of fighting in Tigray, in terms of counteroffensive on Amhara Far regions, in terms of withdrawal from Amhara region last year, throughout the last 2 years, TPLF was never alone. Tigray military elite was with TPLF. So whatever has happened, it was joint decision, joint plan of Tigray's military elite and TPLF, Tigray's political elite, starting from November 2020. And secondly, since the start of this conflict, have you heard of any entity in Tigray that opposed the war? That opposed offensive on Amhara, offensive on Afar, that opposed withdrawal from Amhara Afar regions last year. Betona, Tigray Independence Party, Salsivuyene, 3 small major opposition parties in Tigray. Did they oppose military strategy jointly adopted by TPLF and TDF? Did they oppose the war? No, they did not. Did they share some alternative approach to resolve the conflict with Ethiopian federal government, Eritrean government? No. Mainly, they have been calling for independence of Tigray. So they were a step ahead of TPLF. TPLF was in favor of Ethiopian Federation, but some opposition parties of Tigray were calling for independence of Tigray, which was totally unacceptable to Ethiopian federal government. So no alternative plan was put forward by any opposition party in Tigray since the start of this conflict in November 2020. We must be clear about that. And secondly, as I said earlier, TDF and TPLF, they have been on the same page since November 2020 till the 2nd of November 2022 when the agreement was signed in Pretoria, South Africa. Tigray's team of negotiators involved not only politicians but also military officers. Sadkan, top military brain of Tigray, was in Pretoria, South Africa. It was a joint decision of TPLF and TDF. TPLF alone cannot be made a scapegoat for the agreement signed in South Africa. Firstly. Secondly, are we seeing any criticism from Tigray military side against TPLF? No, I have not seen any criticism of the peace agreement by Tigray's military elite. Why? Because they know the ground reality. Tigray's military commanders, they know the ground realities that it was becoming difficult for Tigray's military. They were suffering losses, Tigray fighters and their people were dying of hunger. So it was becoming increasingly difficult for Tigray's military to continue the armed resistance while protecting the people of Tigray. So that is why they had to make compromises in consultation with TPLF. So no criticism of TPLF from Tigray military officers so far. Opposition parties are rejecting the peace agreement indirectly. They are rejecting disarmament. They are calling for independence of Tigray. We've seen statements from TIP, not TDP, Tigray Independence Party and Betona. They lashed out at TPLF. But throughout the last 2 years, they were part of the policy adopted by TPLF regarding the war in northern Ethiopia. So these parties never shared any alternative proposal to resolve the conflict in Tigray, between Tigray and Ethiopian federal government. I mean, TPLF is not alone. Tigray military commanders are standing with TPLF. Opposition parties are rejecting the agreement, but can they challenge TPLF? Can they force a change, political change in Tigray? They cannot force a political change in Tigray as long as TPLF is in power in Mekelle. You saw that last year, Tigray fighters were heading towards Addis Ababa, Ethiopian capital. They were in control of large territories of Amhara region, Afar region as well. PM Abiy's government was under severe pressure. Did you see any political change in Addis Ababa? Prosperity Party was weak. Despite TDF's massive territorial gains last year, you saw that PP remained in command. PM Abiy remained in command. Why? Because there was no genuine opposition. Opposition was not allowed to express. It wasn't allowed to work freely. So no joint opposition could be formed against PP. PM Abiy's government kept on making key decisions. Ultimately, Tigray forces retreated from Amhara Afar regions. Same is happening in Tigray, that there is no force, no formidable political force to challenge TPLF. TPLF will not let any opposition party to cross limits. There would be some boundaries, some red lines, and wherever there is issue of survival for TPLF, TPLF will not allow opposition parties to cross the red line. It will launch crackdown on opposition parties like it has been doing. We have seen some incidents a few months ago when opposition parties tried to protest. They tried to organize some meetings, but TPLF did not allow them to, did not give them political space. So same will happen in coming days and months too if opposition parties try to cross some red lines. Opposition will not be allowed to organize itself to form a joint opposition front in Tigray. This is what has been happening in Ethiopia for years. Ruling parties in Addis Ababa, in regions, they don't allow opposition parties to flourish, to grow. And that is going to happen in Tigray too. As long as TPLF is in power in Mekelle, There isn't going to be any political change, no splits in the party. We could see an alternative political setup to challenge TPLF in Tigray, or splits within TPLF in two cases. Firstly, if Tigray military commanders started accusing TPLF, blaming TPLF for failure, we would see splits within TPLF. But even if that happened, TPLF would hit back. It would start accusing Tigray military commanders that they were the ones who were making key decisions. Secondly, an interim setup is going to be put in place in Mekelle, according to the agreement signed in Pretoria, South Africa. If it happened and an interim government was set up in Tigray with participation of Prosperity Party, TPLF, opposition parties, we could see some political space for opposition parties for the creation of a new political force in Tigray. Even then, TPLF would be part of the new setup. I don't think that in coming days Tigray People Liberation Front is going to split. Yes, there could be some dissenting voices. Tigrayan diaspora is very vocal, very critical of the TPLF. But diaspora does not have direct impact on what is happening in Tigray. It has been financially supporting Tigray forces, maybe TPLF has been lobbying as well. But we cannot say the diaspora can change government in Tigray. So TPLF is in command in Tigray, weakened. Yes, in coming election, TPLF will face the consequences of its decisions which it made. Opposition parties might improve their political standing in Tigray, but to say that a major political change in Tigray is on the cards, it is exaggeration. In coming months, maybe we could see changes, but right now, at this point of time, no major political change in Tigray is expected. Thank you for watching.